hit record again. So Tim, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are at a live event for the IUG, and we are
jealous.
So glad to have people actually in the room. But when this subject of coming about and talking about the new nav came up, I couldn't help but reach out and ask Tim to talk about it, because literally he is the man in charge. Now, Tim doesn't like to big himself up too much. He's got this strange title as a business architect, but virtually all of those tools that make up all of the pillars that hold up the platform that we love fall under Tim. I mean, yes, the database is important. Yes, Power 10 is very exciting. But if we had no clients, we'd have no product. If we had no development environment, we'd have no product. So as much as I love to tease Tim, that what is it you do again?
Yeah, I'm the architect of stuff.
There we go, architect of stuff. There is no one better. Now, Tim's going to take you on a bit of a journey, but I'm going to tell you about something that IBM is doing that he won't say, right? IBM is doing something that I've never seen them do before. They have taken away something that worked fine, and it was already free. And they've replaced it with something that is absolutely fantastic, and they're still not charging for it. This can't have been a popular sales pitch. And when you see old nav and new nav and understand what those mean, you'll say to yourself, actually, maybe what IBM is trying to do is create a blueprint for what our application should look like. Now, Tim's quite happy to make this interactive. I'm supposed to be here to make him look smarter, so I'm going to ask the dumb questions. But this isn't interactive, so we've got to condense them out. He can probably hear most of you, but I may well repeat questions. Anyone who makes a comment or question gets sweets. Welcome back to Real World Conferences. Has anyone got anything they'd like to say? There we go. This actually works, right? It's not someone saying, I will send you a badge, a virtual badge for attending. You actually get some candy. So Tim, please, fire away. I'll interject with some questions as we go along.
I want to start with just like 4 or 5 slides, just to kind of set some background before we dive. And I'm going to do everything else will be live demo, just because, well, we can. So first, this is the Navigator as you might know it today. It's a web-based entity. If you look at its history, it actually started back in '95 as a PC client. And that same base technology is what we've kind of continued to slap lipstick on, even when we moved into the web world back in 2008. But the web technology that existed back in 2008, it's a far cry from the web technology that exists today. So when we decided to do something with Navigator, we decided that it was time to take and look at it from the bottom up. So really, about the only thing that's the same in the new Navigator is the name. And you might kind of get some ideas with some of the feature function that's there. But really, from the ground up, everything else has changed. I kind of like this example, right? It's a Ford pickup truck, right? It's obvious. It's got an engine, wheels, steering wheel. And over the years, they have continued to update and modify the pickup truck, but it's stayed fundamentally the same until this year. The first fully electric pickup truck. I mean, this is a revolutionary change to the way it looks, the way it runs, the engine under the covers. New nav is no different.
So first question, I realize that you're from Minnesota, so this doesn't apply, but can you still get a gun rack in the back of that one?
Yes.
Okay. That's
yes.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You don't understand. Minnesota is a permit carry state. So yeah, my next door neighbor carries all the time. He has a gun rack in his truck. It's a real thing.
His neighbor.
Hey, I live in a safe neighborhood. So new nav, we've fundamentally changed it from the bottom up. Now, I mean, the old one, it was functional, but that baby was ugly. You know, I can say that I own it. I actually was, you know, one of the original developer designers on the thing. I lost a lot of battles back then because I wasn't the guy in charge of things. Well, today, what we decided to, when we step back, rethink not just technology, but let's rethink what this thing is used for. Being able to have a client to allow you to easily manage many systems, leveraging the very latest in web technologies, leveraging the very latest in accessing the IBM I technology that's on your box. And anybody's listened to Scott and I over the past 5-6 years, we've been talking about a strategy to use SQL to access data on the IBM I. NewNav, the backbone is SQL services. So with that, let's go play. Yeah, there we go. I was gonna say, where did my screen go? Can you still see my screen?
Yeah, it's very clear.
Oh, wonderful. The new Navigator interface is something where you can come into it, right? And you can now look at many different systems. I can click on a system and I can go off and manage it. I can come back and see all the different systems that we have that I've chose that I'm going to manage on my,
Let me just
landscape.
repeat that back just for the sake of the audience. For those of you who are used to the traditional Navigator product, you would log into our management screen, browser-based, but you would only see that LPAR. Even if it was on the same machine, you'd get one view of what was in that LPAR. Each of those is a different LPAR. They could be on this machine or any other physical machine.
Yeah, well, to kind of talk, to kind of emphasize that point, right? Some of these machines here, like, Stev 47 and Z13, these are in the lab here in Rochester. Common One, this is sitting in somebody's garage out in Michigan. Actually, it's in a data center now in Michigan, but this is not even an IBM machine. This is Larry Bolheis's machine. If Steve trusted me just a little bit more, I could put his systems on here and I could go manage his machines. And, and that would be so helpful for him, I'm sure.
Yeah, you did power them down last time. Thank you.
Yeah, see, he's learning. The other thing that we've changed, and this is important for many of my customers, is the whole security aspect of things. So I'm currently signed on to this UT25 system with my user ID and password. It just so happens that I have the same user ID and password on all of these other systems. So I'm using that same user ID and password to connect and access these systems, right? So that's one of the access methodologies. In addition, you have a choice. Do you want to go from this system to the endpoint, i.e. like, so for example, Common One, do I want to use encryption or not encryption? You do it either way. This one here, you can see this little icon. I'm currently connected to Common One with TLS encryption. And we've made it really easy to do under connection properties. You have choices with authentication. I can connect using my GUI ID and password, or I can do a prompt methodology. I can also easily decide which endpoints I want to connect with using TLS. The only requirements is you've already configured the host servers on the endpoint for TLS. Once you've done that, we will go get the certificate and allow you and take care of putting it into the certificate store that we use for this web interface. So this is this IBM I Web Trust interface store, and you can see the certificates that we've currently loaded in here, for example.
And just to reaffirm that is not a difficult job. That's the same process that you would be and should be going to in order to secure your ACS or your other web applications. So if you've enabled those with the DCM, this will just piggyback off that.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to switch over to Common One for a minute. So I'm working with the system. We'll see how well the system's behaving today. We're in the middle of the Common Conference right now in North America. So yesterday there was a few moments where it hiccuped a little bit, but here you go. We've got our active jobs. This is the new table interface. Now, this new table interface is really quite interesting. The reason I say that is, so for example, I personally don't care about detailed status. Does that tell you anything useful, Steve?
No.
It doesn't tell me. So I'm going to take that guy and throw him over here. Matter of fact, enhanced type, I really don't care much about that either. So let's put that over there. I care about, oh, current user, that's good. You know, and you can, now this is my permanent view. This is the view that I'm going to use every time I come to active jobs from here on out until I change it again. You can also, you know, filter. So I want to go look for, you know, my stuff. So I typed in Tim, and it's going to do a quick filter, and now it's going to show me, right, just my jobs. Maybe I wanted to see, you know, only my batch jobs. So I can do a double filter, and you can filter on multiple columns. And again, it updates immediately for you. Now, I talked about this being built upon SQL. So there's a button here, View SQL. We give you the SQL. This is what we are using to build the data for this table. It shows you the IBM service that we're currently using, as well as any of the other SQL-like things that we've done to improve the performance, right? So you can see here, we've added a couple where clauses we threw in there to allow us to return the data, you know, that for the system very quickly. Now, why is this new SQL service important? Well, a couple reasons. So for simple example, Steve, work active job. How many metrics are on work active job?
I honestly, there's so many, I'm not sure I could even come
on work active job, the green screen command?
Yeah, maybe 14, 19. I mean, that's more than
I don't think there's even that many. I think there's more like 8 or 9.
Possibly maybe more than 14. There's no other metrics gathered, surely.
Well, actually, there's actually more metrics in the old Navigator than on work active job.
So but, how many metrics might you be able to get at then? Is there a list of them?
Well, yeah. I mean, this SQL service gives them all to you.
Just another piece of chocolate. So I'm just feeding myself candy.
so self-serving. It's a beautiful thing. The active job info IBM service has got like 50 some odd different metrics about an active job. So there's no place that's going to give you more information about a job than this particular interface, because we're using that service now. Some of the new things, client, I love these, right? I can go add some columns. I can go user ID, workstation, port, host. I can toss those over here. I can see they've been updated automatically, and take a look, right? I can now see I've got IBM Navigator GUI with me going to this particular system and port that are connected to this machine, right? So it gives you all of this information that's not available in other ways. So very fun, fascinating things that are part of what's available today.
And if you wanted to export that, Tim, while you got that view up, if that was useful to you to save it out somewhere for documentation, can you do that?
So not every screen has this today. Working on it. This one, in fact, does. So you're spot on. If you go to the actions, you can do export selected, or I can do export all. And that will take everything that's in this view. So when you say export all at the moment, I've got 11 rows that I got returned based on my filtering criteria. I would then export those 11 rows on an export all.
Remember, if you've got any questions, comments at any time, throw them in. Chris, what do you got?
So when you run the filter,
yep,
does that add the where clauses into the SQL?
Yes.
So because active jobs can be a very large data set, one of the things that we've done is we've limited the amount of data returned to 100. So the filtering that's being done today on this table, because of that, yes, we end up adding that So every time I change this, so okay, let me go add another one. So I want to go look at run priority of 25.
Great question. I'm giving it to Simon because you already had one.
So you can see the data changed, and if I go click on the SQL, right, we've changed the SQL as well.
Yeah, it's excellent. So remember, you can steal this anytime. You can even hit the run SQL button and it'll take you over to run SS in ACS.
Well, that's assuming, of course, you've gone into here under tools, under Navigator requests, and you've established a connection between your PC and the system that you're currently working on. So in my case, right, I was managing Common 1. So I would need to have a connection from my PC to Common 1, and then that Run SQL scripts button would work for you.
Yeah. So Terry's just asked a question.
Yeah.
Can you increase it above 100, Terry? Yeah. So she was asking in that could you actually take it to more than 100 that you would bring back?
You mean like 500?
That'd be nice.
250? Yes. Yes, you can increase that. Good question. You know why it was a good question? Because I have an answer for you.
Okay, so let's carry on.
So if you look at the functionality that's in the new nav, not 100% of everything that was in the old nav made it into this release. Now, the good news is, because this is a modern web infrastructure, it's an agile project. We're going to be updating and rolling out new PTFs probably on about a monthly cadence with new features as we get them ready and developed. So this is the current list of things that are here, right? Looks basically the same as the old nav. Well, except for a couple things, right? Look at that one, active JVM jobs. This didn't exist in the old nav. Yeah, this is a green screen command. Speaking of green screens commands, say I'm in here and I want to find a feature based on the name of a green screen command. Well, there's a search bar up here at the top. So if I typed in work, right, it's going to give me with names all of the areas that have associated work commands, right? So there we go, work active jobs, work job descriptions, work subsystem descriptions, work active subsystems. You can kind of see the whole list there. Again, I could change and look at disk. I would get disk status, disk watcher. I could do jobs, right? And again, we're going to show you different interfaces that match that criteria. So, active job descriptions. Oh, there we go. Click on that, and off we go. I'm looking at the active job descriptions on this system. Now, so, geez, but are these the same job descriptions that are on my other system? Well, so how do I go look at a different system? Well, yeah, I could go click on this little switch to dashboard view, right? If I could click out here, go click on a different system and come back in, but oh, hey, let me go back into my job descriptions. We actually have a better way. Down here at the very bottom, there's a little gray arrow. If I hover over it, our system tray shows. This shows me all of the systems that I've configured on my dashboard. I can now go click on a different system. Well, let me go click on Stev9. If I double click on that, I am now managing Stev9, looking at job descriptions. Don't get much easier than that to move around.
And let me stress, I mean, if you're using this Navigator and did it the old way, you'd only have to go back to the home screen and then back in again. If you were doing this in old nav, you'd have to
go sign in.
Go to a brand new page, log in with that page, wait for Java, because this was all Java based, to settle back down again, and then you'd start to get your results. This is so much faster. So for those of you who manage more than one LPAR, this is a joy.
The other thing to kind of chime in on that, just to note, I'm going to bring up this view for a minute. This is my management system, this UT25BP22. This is the system that I have NewNav running on. I do not have NewNav running on any of these other systems in the infrastructure that I'm managing. None of them. Well, okay, I lied. Common One actually has new nav running on it. But just because I'm managing it with this doesn't mean it's being used. I'm not using the new nav infrastructure on Common One. I'm connecting with what? The SQL services as my backbone engine. So the actual web front end piece is only running one spot, and it's connecting and using our back-end infrastructure to connect to everything.
And I think that's an important point to make. So what you need to know as people here is that it's not that the PC that you're using needs to have a view of all of those LPARs. No, the communication into LPAR is actually from IDMI to IDMI. So if you've got multiple secure connections, it'll use those. So you just need your one VPN into your management client. You don't need to suddenly open up all of your LPARs, even your PCI or GDPR ones, to an open interface. So those back-end plumbings can be through virtual Ethernet that has no physical connectivity. Okay. So this is available at both 7.3 and 7.4. It only came out in the latest PTF levels, but you'll notice that's only the one that's doing the managing. Everything else, right, can be at a lower level. In fact, Tim, would it be fair to say that you don't even need 7? You could manage things that were not 7.3?
So yeah, so it's a great question. Under here we have SQL services. This is the list of all the services that is currently on this system, but this is an important interface because it also lists what are the services that are available at different operating system release levels. And you can see some are at 7.3, some came out in 7.2, some came out in 7.3. Well, if you're trying to access something that is a pre-7.2 or something like that interface, the SQL service might not exist. So for example, if I go to look at NVMe devices, well, I mean, those services and those devices didn't exist on 7.1 or 7.2. So you would get something like this. Hey, look at that, no records found. Or you might get, hey, that SQL service doesn't exist. So you don't even need to have the backend up to date. We'll handle the errors and tell you that you need to get either up to date or move to something current. Now, obviously, if I go to a system, actually my system that has NVMe devices is down today, so I can't even go to that one. Oh well, who knew? But anyways, yeah, the only thing you need to have on the management system is the latest HTTP PTF groups. Beyond that, actually I don't have a system with SSDs on it too either. I got some old hardware.
If people want to play, I've got a demo system that is available here, and they can see the NVMe's from within there. So the thing to remember, I'll be right back to you, Chris, right, is that if you've got a 7.3 or 7.4 machine that's acting as your management node, so you've got that PTF up to date, that doesn't need to be your production environment. So if you want to get it
would recommend not to be your production environment.
There we go. And so all of this rendering workload that we're putting on there, and it's not heavy, it's much lighter than the last one. You're not running that on production expensive CPUs. You have your private connections in the background, great. Things that, I mean, IBM services have been around for more than a decade now. So they started out with easy stuff like user management. So even going back to a 7.1 machine as I have, and I know Tim wouldn't recommend that, right? Using user management through this, still good. You try and do anything, that's super modern, like temporal tables, well, you're not gonna have any luck with that on a 7.1 machine, I can tell you that for sure. So it's still worth patching everything, but just start with your most up-to-date machine, and it doesn't need to be a production one. Yeah. Chris?
Probably answer that one. So the recommendation is that you run the new INAV on the controlling LPAR.
So the question was, the recommendation is that you run the new nav on the controlling LPAR. So it doesn't, the controlling LPAR doesn't need to actually be controlling anything. It's on an LPAR that someone's given to you and you can easily PTF. Right. The only reason we're putting that one up is these PTFs are brand new. They're a couple of weeks old. The product has been in development and we've been testing, we'll talk a bit more about that later, for more than 2 years, right? But in order to get this, you need to put the very latest PTFs on. But we're not saying you're going to do that to all of your LPARs. That's just the one where you want this GUI to run. That's it.
the connection from the management LPAR to the others is through the DB2 connect to.
No,
No,
no.
it's not within that. So
No,
it's not direct.
it's purely TCP, so as long as it knows about it,
Yeah.
right, it's actually
It's
using
connecting. Yep, it's connecting via host servers over TCP.
Okay.
so it's easier than that. It's not inter-database relational. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Brilliant question.
It's great, this, and you're bobbing from machine to machine, I'm great with it. Can you split the screen? So you've got two LPAs watching the same bit of information on each of them, so
Right, so that was asking for a context switch. So when you're going from LPAR to LPAR, actually putting the second LPAR onto another browser. Now, I'm going to say no, right? And then I'm going to say yes. If I was asked to do that, I would literally just to bring up a different tab in a browser and put what I wanted over on that one, because I don't just have to log in with this once. This is not a single user interface, but I would probably re-authenticate in a second tab and have them separate. Because then as I move backwards and forwards, they wouldn't overlap. Terry? Yeah.
So there we go. I'm managing MIC37 on this tab, and I'm managing UT25 on this tab. We don't care. We're happy to do it both ways.
Sweet. No,
But,
if you're running it on your CBU box.
Yep.
And managing numerous systems.
Yep.
Is that class production workload?
okay, so the question was, and this is a licensing one, so I'll answer it. Therefore, you don't have to answer for it because this has been recorded. But so the question was, if you were running this on a CBU box and managing production workloads, does using that CBU box count as actually against the, it's a production workload, therefore breaking the terms of the CBU license? Brilliant question. I'm sure Tim doesn't want to comment on that because of IBM legal, but let me tell you.
Tim has no clue.
Let me tell you what the minimum requirements of any CBU box, even the smallest one, is a 5-user environment and 1 core. So you're entitled to manage that machine. And so I would say that's fine that you're managing other machines. So you're one of those 5 users. So don't have more than 6 people using that CBU.
Yeah,
and I think you're.
I just wondered whether it was classed as, if you're managing other systems, whether.
I would say that's not, and this is me speaking for the camera, not IBM legal. I would definitely say that it's not a production workload because nothing was being done. I didn't actually get something out of it. So I'm just making sure it's all up.
we'll cut that one.
I know that Tim's got a better answer. Just because I'm recording it and we've got permission from IBM legal to put this on the website, I don't want him to comment on things he's not comfortable on.
So, one of the comments that people asked is, can I look at multiple machines
Yep.
on a single screen? So yeah, I've already showed you, you can have 2 different tabs work with 2 different systems. We also have something, if I go here, called custom charts. Custom charts allows me to do a couple things. Here, I've got 3 metrics: CPU utilization, system ASPUs, and active job number. And I am looking at those 3 metrics on UT25. Okay, great. Also, now I look at this chart here, I have got 3 systems that I'm currently working for, actually 4 systems that are currently looking at. All 4 systems, I am looking at active job number, and I'm graphing those. So I can see what the active job number is. I can see here the active CPU utilization on the chart below. You can see at 8:35, I had a little bit of a spike, but then everything's dropped right back down. So remember, UT25, this is the system that I'm currently working on and managing all of this stuff. So this is a live demo. So you can see my utilization over the last half hour as I've been doing this demo hasn't done anything after that initial little wake up.
So again, this is a special part of it, the dashboarding element, because we were quite a few months ago back in this development cycle. There's an advisory panel that's been working with Tim, and Terry and I have been lucky enough to be part of that panel. The concept of, well, we had this dashboard thing before where we could actually see how the machine was, and we wanted that up on the wall so that we looked impressive like the rest of the systems. So the guys took that, but rather than just giving us our dashboard for one LPAR, that's where this multiple LPAR dashboard came up. And I think this adds a lot more value. And I think you'll see a lot more going into this area. And you guys, if you adopt this through the RFE scheme, can actually help drive what these changes will be.
Well, the one thing that's nice about this interface is we've tried to make it not controlled by us being IBM. So under actions, look at metrics. we're providing 3 metrics. The metrics are gathered using what? Yes, SQL again. So I've got 5 metrics that I've in my chart. 2 of them I've created, 3 of them that we've shipped with the product. You can go put whatever metric you want for your application, however creative you want to be. You can go add your own metric here.
So if, just to repeat that, so yeah, Paul obviously knows a little bit about SQL. We've heard that from him in the past. So if he'd got a way of monitoring some new function he'd sold into company X, just run this SQL and you'll get a result set back that shows you something of value. He could add that SQL into this interface. So it's just by adding it.
And it would then, you could then start building a chart to chart some aspect of that, correct?
But any part of your system, whether it be an internal function or a tool or some sort of did the backup complete in the right period of time, all of those things, you can start to put in these charts.
So does it have to be SQL or can it be a web services call?
Did you hear the question?
Yep, SQL. Yep, that's right.
SQL is the answer.
All right.
But if you wanted to, you could just, I hear there's this new thing called wrappering an SQL in a web service. So I think you could make it available. You know?
So there is actually an SQL function that will consume web services. So you could just use that SQL function to call web service.
You could come more often.
Sorry, I answered the question. I should get 2.
As long as I get to choose where to put the second one. Tim, I'm sorry, I'm putting you down.
So, you know, Steve had mentioned our advisory group, and this was honestly for me a really special group of individuals. We in the development lab, we don't manage systems. Actually, we're really, yeah, we're really bad at it, but we do write a lot of good code. So we needed to connect with people who actually do this job for a living. So I connected with people from around the world who manage systems for a living, both business partners, ISVs, large users, small users, so a large, fairly nice group of people to help guide and direct what we're doing. One of the things that I think, one small area where we made, I think, a huge difference, right? The world of file shares. This is something that people have to go off and manage on their systems on a regular basis. And, this was one of those, can we make file shares better? Because this was a point of contention for many. It was frustrating. So we listened to their input and we tried to come up with some ways to make this just a little bit better. So here's the file shares that are currently on this system. You can see all of these are actually real path names. Oh, look at that. I've got one that's got a user that's connected to it. I can see whether or not these are encrypted or not, right? So there's some new metrics here. If I go to properties, right, I can scroll down and I can see the user that is actually connected to this file share. So if I need to go kick them off, I can go do that. The other area that was a frustration point, people were asking, well, users can't type user ID and passwords very well, so they end up disabling themselves on a regular basis, and they can disable themselves from the net server. And then I have to go find those users and re-enable them and yada, yada, yada. It's a pain in the neck. So we have a new action, disable user IDs. So if I go click on that guy, I will go look and find all the users that have disabled themselves from the net server. And Paul, you'll need to have a conversation with your friend Scott. He apparently he can't type his user ID and password very well. Just saying.
Awesome.
Yeah, really special.
So we're seeing some information, there. We're thinking that some of this actually could start to be seen as sensitive. So is this secure, this method of connecting to it, Tim? Yeah.
Yes, we're connecting with an IBM user ID and password. If I connect with a different, let me go connect over here. I'm just signing on right now. So I've signed on to this system, and on this one, I'm actually leveraging I want a prompt for my user ID and password before I connect to any endpoint. So here, I've only got 4 systems that I'm connected to. You can see here's my UT25 system, right? I connected to that one because I signed in, but these ones are locked. Well, I want to go work with common one. So let me go manage it. It's going to prompt me so I can go enter in my user ID and password. I can't type. And once I've done that, it will go ahead and connect me to that system and establish the secure connection between them.
And it's fair to say you can mix and match that. You can have some that log in automatically, some that log in that demand a password or a user.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Any questions as we're going along? As I'm noticing, you know, we're chewing through the time. Great.
Steve, I've got one.
Okay.
Is it a responsive design? Can I run it on my mobile?
Right. Is this a responsive design? Can Steve Cass ask, can we run this on a mobile or a tablet or a smartphone?
Oh, heck yeah. I run it on my iPad all the time. I mean, it's obviously it's going to be somewhat marginal on on your smartphone, just because you don't got a lot of real estate there. It works. Like I say, I put it up on my iPad on a regular basis. So yeah, that works just fine.
So we've got quite a technical audience. There's a good mixture of developers in here, and Paul as well as developers. Then could you just give us a quick run over what the framework is? You've said that in the back end we're using the SQL services.
Oh
What's
yeah,
the front end?
absolutely. So this is built on Angular. So back a few years ago, we took a hard look at all the different web frameworks that existed in the world, and we decided that Angular was a solution that it was good to try doing things on. So I don't know if you can see this, but oh no, of course my virtual background has decided to kick in. But anyways, I've got it running on my iPad right there. So anyways, so it's Angular on the front end, running on a Liberty web container in the admin 1 server, which is the backend component that's running on the IBM I itself. And then it connects using the host servers and SQL to do all the actual heavy lifting.
And is it fair to say when you start admin 1 up, unlike admin 2, the old Navigator, it doesn't destroy the CPU on the system for 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's a bit lighter weight than that.
I would say absolutely. So just as a piece of housekeeping, we got 10 minutes left on this one, Tim. Okay, just so you know.
Yep. Very good.
Okay.
A couple areas that we've done some significant enhancements and improvements. There was an SQL service that was delivered, the security QSys2 security info, delivered I think about 6 months ago. The idea is to try to provide a consolidated single place to show all of the metrics that affect security on your system, so that you can get all of this information back in one place. And we've virtually visualized that for you. So we take that service, we show you the value, you know, the name of the metric, its value, and we try to also then tell you both where it comes from and what does a 50 actually mean.
And so
Likewise,
is the SQL available for that one, Tim? Because I could see people running something like that and just collecting.
but yeah, it just sits right there.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I want to red and the green. I'm really good to color code it.
So the comment there was a suggestion. It'd be really nice if you could actually red, amber, green this for, you know, suggestions of areas you might want to look at.
Yep.
Now, Tim,
You know,
what about showing,
we-
if you go back to the dashboard for just a second, some of those have already been taken on board, and this is the type of thing you might see if you put an RFE in there. So there's purple blocks here, and there's a green bit there, and there's, have we got any ambers or reds? So
actually, I didn't like the color red, so I changed it. So you know, under connection properties, we have thresholds, right? Okay, I'll make you happy. There we go. We have a red. We can go back and give you a red. There you go. Maybe I can. I'll make the blue. I'll make the blue one yellow too, just so you can kind of Quit yapping at me. All right.
Sorry, Dad. But you see how configurable this is. So if there are ideas for that, I'm not saying you'll get them, but put an RFE in, there is already a technology where that thresholds could be put in place and then flagged up later.
Okay, there you go, Steve. There's your amber. There's your red. No
Yeah, I know the reason why it's because you don't want to go and fix step 37, so you just change it to purple so you can ignore it. Yeah, purple is the color of Cadbury's candy wrappers over here.
Yes, I love Cadbury candy wrappers and the contents they're in. We don't get that stuff in the same manner over here.
Okay,
Sadly. Any other areas that you want me to go play with, Steve?
Well, there's some advanced functions I liked in the old one to do with development. So the PDI interface, for example, when I want to see performance data. Have you kept that?
You better believe we've kept it. Actually, in many respects, I think we've made some nice improvements to it. So here we have the investigate data. Those collections are the graphs to show you what's going on with a particular piece of collection services data. They're all here. Now, I will warn you, the very first and only the very first time, you'll get a little bit of a hiccup as we are pulling in the graphing package from the server into your browser. But after that, any other time I go to one of these packages and, click on something, right, it loads significantly faster because now I have the graphing package already cached in your browser. Now, one of the things that I like about this, I can open up context. We can now add not just a single collection of information. So this is really roughly a day. Well, maybe I want to go look at the last 3 days. So I can go click on 3 different collections. Maybe I want to adjust my graph interval so I don't have quite so many dots. Let's pull it down to maybe an hour. If I do a refresh, now I'm graphing and looking at a set of 3 collections on a single chart. So it's 3 days worth of information. Geez, it's sort of almost getting along the lines of what we have for graph history, just with a lot more detail, right?
And so just think for a moment, guys. So you remember, this is not running on your production environment, but someone's complaining about what happened yesterday, as they do, 24 hours late, with no bloody context whatsoever. You can, because this data is being collected automatically by default, go and look back and compare yesterday with the day before, with the day before that, and see what was different. Okay, and you can look for those exceptions to find it. This costs £0 extra. You don't need performance tools loaded or licensed on the LPAR for this to work.
It doesn't cost any dollars either.
Yeah. So Terry's quoting Alison. It's included at no extra cost.
Exactly. You're already paying for it. So we've tried to break these up a little bit so I can go look at, if I want to go look at database, right? If I click on database, this automatically updates. We also automatically update the collections up here that apply to these categories. So for example, if I went to, maybe Job Watcher or Disk Watcher, right? I don't have any collections on this system, right? So I can't go look at them because I don't have any, but the graphs are there if I happen to. Anyways, there's my collections, and we've updated, and now I can go again look at multiple collections or whatever I want to do, and I can launch that even from here. So if I wanted to go look at 4 different collections, let's pull my interval up to maybe 6 hours because I've got a lot of data there, and I go ahead and look at job statistics by subsystem or something like that. There we go. I've built that data set. Okay, this is more of a table versus a graph, but anyways, you got the idea. And the SQL, yep, it's all here. This is the SQL that's used to build this data set. It's all there.
All this is data that isn't in the Go Perform collect all this data. They're separate now.
No.
It's the same stuff. It's the
same stuff, but you're actually getting a better view of it. Yeah.
This is all collection services data. It's all the stuff that you have on your system. We just make it look pretty.
Yeah, and that's the
Oh,
important
and
part.
actually,
That
it make-
collection service stuff has been there since 6.1. You can drag old data over here and start actually looking at sizing machines.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So for example, I can
3-minute
export,
3-minute
so
warning.
I can export a chart over here. If I had, if we went to investigate data, right? I can import a set of collection information from somewhere else and throw it in a different library. And I can go look at the collections that are in different libraries. So it doesn't have to be just the collection services from this system either.
Awesome. Okay.
One of the new things that I like, Steve,
Yeah.
under my work, I can go look at my ILE objects and I can go look at my IFS objects.
So those are the things owned by the user that you're currently logged in as, Timmer in this case.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And I know we can do this from the green on black screen, but how much more useful is it here when you can bloody export it as well and actually filter it? And sort it. And so, yeah, any of those columns, by the way, you just click on the columns as well as the filtering and that'll change the direction on the sorting. Tim, is it possible to still use this and the old nav for those things in the old nav that you want? This doesn't replace old nav, does it?
They work side by each.
Okay, so that's not going away. Does this in any way replace ACS? Are we trying to get rid of ACS out of the equation?
No, they each have their own useful and their own purpose. So no, we're not going to add a 5250 interface into this one for certain. That I can guarantee.
But it wasn't very popular in the last one.
All the more reason not to add it into this one.
Agreed. And so is there a way I could add my own shortcuts into this interface to get to useful things for me by that L part?
Oh, no, absolutely. So actually, if I switch over to this guy for a minute, because I've messed up my bookmarks on the other. So under bookmarks, we actually ship a connection to the old nav. If you really so desire to get there, you can go to WebAdmin GUI, Digital Certificate Manager. I added this one. I wanted to go to my DB2 Mirror GUI interface. So I can add my own bookmarks by going to the management and, you know, clicking and adding new bookmarks, and away I go. I can add in useful things for me that I care about.
And so these don't have to be one supplied by IBM. We could put our own custom bookmarks into that interface.
You can do your own, you can do whatever you want. That's correct.
Bring your own application management in there, is what we're saying. Okay.
One last area that actually also is a major improvement. If you ever have had to do anything with EIM configuration, in the old nav, there was wizards to help you do that. And they worked on Thursdays. And I believe there was some sacrificing of chickens that were involved, but I'm not quite certain. So we worked with a number of our security experts that do this on a regular basis. And we've greatly improved the process and the flow and the functionality. Yeah, like it works usually. Who knew? So look for lots more updates coming as we continue to enhance this new interface. Steve, anything else?
So if I can summarize this then before letting you go, and we really do appreciate what you've done. So this is a brand new interface, right? Using the latest technologies. You literally had a choice of what you should do. You just picked what you want. It runs alongside the existing interface. It runs on a 7.3 machine, a 7.4 machine, but it can manage older to some limited degree, and it costs £0 extra pounds, dollars, euros.
Yep. Basically.
Okay, where do you sign? Okay, any last questions for Tim before we let him go?
What do you mean by running side by side, the old and the new?
Okay, so imagine there was a second tab there and you wanted the old Navigator, because there are some things in the old Navigator that aren't in the new one. So, yeah, exactly. So you literally just in the second tab over, what I was trying to say is it doesn't replace that one, okay? And so there's the old nav, because there might be something in there that you had, and you know, maybe you haven't had a chance to train everybody. You don't want to do a big bang switch over. So these will be side by side, and at some point in the future, right, then this will probably become the default. But at the moment, you know, IBM's introducing it and getting feedback and wanting enhancements. So for now, the default one, when you click on the ACS tab, will be the old nav, and you can add the new nav in alongside it. And you can hack the latest version of ACS so that link goes to the new nav if you want.
So here, for example, on common one, there's the old nav, there's the new nav. They're both running. I can get to both of them. They're on the same system.
Okay.
One's in the admin 1 job, one's in the admin 2 job.
So to answer the technical question, the first one responds on port 201, and the other one responds on 202. Okay, and they
Actually, slight correction.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't mean to tell you you're wrong, but the old nav actually responds on port 204.
Only if you're encrypted. 201's still there. It's a redirect, whether you're encrypted or
Yeah,
not.
but it's a redirect.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yours was more better, as Larry would say. Thank you very much. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
It's a good thing it's a virtual door.
Okay. Any last thoughts for Tim before we let him go? Like, or last comments?
He did a great job.
Yeah, you did a great job. Thank you very much for putting up. Now, this is available for you to use on the loaner system. If you know, we're talking about the virtual loan systems that we've got. Obviously, you can put it onto your PTFs. You know that I'm going to say wonderful things about it, but Terry's in the room and she's more impartial. She was doing a lot of the testing for me as part of this team. So if you want a real life conversation of what it's about, go either try it on my laptop, try it on the loaner, or talk to Terry. Okay, or better still, put some bloody PTFs on your machine.
You just remind us what PCS we need for that.
You need to get to the latest PTF groups, right, for either 7.3 or 7.4 for the HTTP. I'm going to tell you, right, that you should also be putting the latest Java ones on there because
Database.
And database as well. Then you'll get the extra services. A selfish plug, go to powerwire.eu. I've explained it all in there in the article I wrote last week.
One comment on PTFs.
Yep.
When you download PTFs,
Yep.
update the cover letter that comes down with it. It says AS400 PTF. in the letter.
Okay. So that comment was that they still use the term AS400 in the text box inside it. Okay, he heard it. Yes. Yeah.
Stop crying, Tim. We can see you.
Yeah, exactly.
You can change it to iSeries if you want.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, let's have a positive thing at the end there.
What's positive?
Chris?
Yeah, this looks absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
When you put the PTS on the HTTP group.
Yep.
Does that force an IPL?
No.
No.
Well, it depends. It could. There's an MVME PTF that may cause an issue for some of the MVME stuff, but it doesn't necessarily have to. You don't necessarily have to put that on if you don't care about it.
The application process, you can use the immediate delay, and that still works. That MVME side, I've done this a number of times and it's like I've not had that problem.
Yeah.
That said, I'm going to say to you, should be putting database ones on because he's just told me that now, as well as Java, and those are would definitely be the ones in an IPL. But remember, this is only on one system that's doing the management interface. It's nothing to do with the ones you're managing.
But it can break down all the ones that you next to.
So that's why in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to put this on the hosting LPAR of your machine. I can see it. Don't put it on one of the clients and then manage everything. It doesn't need to go on mine. I have zero workload on my hosts when I'm doing this. Is iHosting Tim. So don't put anything on the host. Have all the clients doing the work. Okay.
Or sacrifice a chicken.
Or sacrifice a chicken. Any more for any more? So do you want to come on down as I yeah, I can only thank you so much, Tim. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Come on over, okay?
Oh, wish I could. Would have
Okay.
loved to be there.
Take care, buddy. Speak to you soon.
All right. Take care now.